Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. This YouTube channel is dedicated to helping you improve your skill at Bannerlord through the use of field command and advanced tactics. And we have another one of our custom battles here. Basically, battles that illustrate the advantage of tactics, even when you don't have an advanced army like some people see me using in my campaign. So like in all the custom battles, what we've done is we've basically eliminated the peasant. Neither side gets the lowest tiered troops, and we've also this time included the minor tier clan for each. So the Battanians get an archer type unit, and the Vlandians get a crossbow type unit. Now I'm not incredibly familiar with playing Vlandia, but I don't think that's going to matter if we use advanced tactics. I am going to get a little bit elaborate with my setup. This is probably not wholly necessary, but I like to have a lot of different options tactically on the battlefield. So the 8th Corps again is set up with some of my strongest units. What I'm going to do with the 7th Cav is basically set them up as a shield Cav division, right? They're going to be effectively designed to be preventing arrows from reaching troops. Also, they will shield enemy cav attacks. The 6th is just going to be an infantry division. The 4th and 5th will be archer divisions. And then the 2nd cav division will be my destructive attacking cav. Finally, rounding out my 3rd cav division here, I have 3 different cavalry divisions. The 3rd cav will be a defensive division, just with higher ranked troops, and I'll probably use them to attack at times. Meanwhile, of course, the 1st is our main infantry branch. They will definitely hold the center. This landscape is unfamiliar to me as well, at least not super familiar. You can see I don't even know how to get myself through it and get jammed up on the trees. Perhaps the soldiers aren't quite certain what their commander's doing when they don't even, when he doesn't even seem to know his way around the battlefield. Nevertheless, into battle we go. We're outnumbered about 15 to 20% by the Battanians. And of course you have to deal with their nasty ranged troops. That said, we're going to have a bit of a ranged battle at the beginning and hope to take advantage of some of these hills here. Right, we're going to use elevational advantages early in this battle. Maybe we can get the sun in the enemy's eyes. I wish that was a thing. That'd be a cool effect. But nevertheless, we're going to try to use elevation, and then we're also going to try to flank the enemy, as well, of course, eventually attacking with our heavy cav. You have to use the strength for each different kingdom, and cavalry is definitely one of the strengths for Vlandia. So I'm spreading them out in divisions, the 1st and the 4th in the center, and then the 5th archers. It was actually 5th division of crossbowmen. Forgive me if I butcher that a few times. And then also the 6th infantry in front of them in shield wall. Meanwhile, I also have the 7th Cav effectively acting as a shield guard. Right? They're going to be guarding one of these lines. And what I mean by that is just holding their shields up, standing there, absorbing arrows, and hopefully deterring cav charges from the enemy. See the 7th Cav right here, right? I'm just stretching it out in a line. They're very weak troops. Most of them are like the lowest level cav. And we arrived at that group formation by the beginning screen. Meanwhile, on this flank, I have the right cav to shield wall again. I like using my cavalry in another unorthodox way. A lot of people will just send them in and they're fighting with them. I like using mine defensively to screen the enemy's cav. We will eventually attack with our cavalry, of course, but early on, when the enemy cav is coming in like this, I want to be able to prevent them from just streaming in and massacring our archers. So I'm doing a little counter-attacking here with my 3rd and 2nd. Right. I do concentrated attacks on the enemy cav. I'm ignoring one of their cav divisions, content that that shield wall over there, you can see it across the valley, is doing a decent job protecting those troops. Of course, when their cav charges in, you can see them, they're getting stuck on the shield wall, and they're also getting shot to pieces by crossbowmen. Oh, I gotta be careful, Jesus, I just took like 3/4 of my damage. It must have been a javelin. Oh yeah, it's sticking to my elbow. Yeah, that would hurt. Of course, that wouldn't kill you if you just took a javelin in the elbow, but nevertheless, I digress. So you can see also we've created kind of an open center for the enemy to eventually approach. If and when the enemy vanguard attacks us, we will be converging multiple forces on it. It's possible, given Battania's ranged advantage, that we may have to attack them, and if that's the case, we will be the ones doing the flanking. We'll approach at an angle, troops on the side, troops in the front, and then probably cavalry behind them, and do a little flanking action. We've got good archers here, or good crossbowmen, and indeed, here comes their infantry. So what I'd like to do with their infantry very early on is disrupt them. I don't want them just barreling in, all confident. I want them acting like a freshman asking some gal out to the prom, very tentative. I want them very concerned, coming in with no confidence, spear a few of these Battanian fiends back here. I want them basically coming in kind of haphazardly broken up, unfocused, uncoordinated. Now I'm going to get my cavalry out of there. And the reason I want to do that is because if they're kind of running around dealing with cavalry, then they're not in a strong shield wall. Now they have been able to maintain most of their infantry, but now look what I can do. I can pull my cav to me, right? I just told them to follow me. I've got infantry on that flank. I've got the cav behind them. And then this cav on this side, and they're all sent in to attack at once. Right, so those cav are sent in. Now this shield wall cavalry is also sent in. And let me kind of show you. It's not going to be super easy to see, but there's a line of infantry in front of them attacking them. There's a line of infantry on the side. There's cavalry charging behind them. And now this 7th cav also comes in behind them. Meanwhile, my archers are relatively free, or the crossbowmen rather are relatively free. They're also out of bolts, so it's time to send these guys in too. And I physically sent them into battle. What I did is I just took their whole formation and pointed it right into the battle. They're out of bolts, they're no longer crossbowmen, right? These are weak infantry. So I forced them into battle, and as soon as they're close, you want to tell them F1, F3. Because if guys have ammunition left and you send them into battle, they will kind of wander through the enemy and get hammered, right? They will assume you're trying to kite or reposition them. They won't fight. I'm going to have to stab a few of these Battanian Fiend champions back here. This guy actually has pretty decent skills. Most of these characters you get with the custom battles are absolute trash. Anyways, just to finish the point, when you send in your archers like that, like I did, I've got one archer division shooting, but I think I'll move them in as well. And again, one of the advantages of Vlandia infantry is you can send them in a shield wall. Once they're sent in and they're close, then you tell them to attack, right? You physically tell them attack. And they're already gaining momentum on the Battanian infantry division. In fact, these troops are, well, they're reforming, but I bet they're close to routing too. I'm going to move up my other crossbow division just in case they are trying to kite us here. Inflict a few more spear wounds myself, but I think this battle is over. Just got to not get shot off my horse here at the end. Yeah, we've got it. There's almost 140, more than 140 troops left. So even though we're outnumbered, ultimately this is a rout in our favor. Now they're trying to hold up this last little line, but now our infantry's reaching them. That should be curtains. Oh, I almost died. Run over some guys here. And that's that. So hopefully this is a nice little introduction for people who are playing Vlandia and maybe struggling with Battania. You know, their archers are formidable. But hopefully these tactics help you defeat Battania. So we're going to try this again. I'm running these back-to-back battles. These custom battles are pretty popular, pretty often requested. So we're going to try them again, little different location, and we're going to give them an even larger advantage of numbers. They now have fully 20% more troops than us. And we're going to effectively try a very similar situation, right? Again, outnumbered 20% with no other advantages. We don't even really have terrain advantages here, as they're actually kind of coming downhill at us. This should present a formidable challenge. But again, I think if we use tactics, this should be a battle that we can win. So very similar formation as you saw me do the last time, right? The 7th cav, again, is in a defensive shield wall. The 2nd cav, that'll be my attacking cavalry, right? The guys I send in to charge. I'll probably be using them a little bit more close to the vest in this battle because they'll be critical. 3rd cav is, again, another defensive cav. I like to have them higher ranked and with shields, because there's a possibility in a battle like this I'll use them in a square, a defensive sacrificial square. And if you have that division with this formation sort of in your mental, you know, in your memory, then you're more prepared to use it. I think this 8th Corps, I don't really want a lot of archers. I want this guys to be mostly like the Vlandian sergeants and high-ranked infantry. And then, of course, the 4th and 5th, again, are crossbow. I've got a little tiny hill here. It's not much that I might be able to use some elevation, but honestly, I think I'd rather pull the enemy down into this valley and then get some flanking troops on our right flank here and hopefully kind of shoot down and in on the enemy attack. All of the kingdoms in Bannerlord have kind of roughly similar, equal strength units. None of the kingdoms have like wildly overpowering cavalry or infantry, but they all have like subtle advantages. Like if you had just a custom battle, I don't know actually the answer to this, but if you had just a custom battle of 500 Vlandian cav, mixed cav against 500 aserai cav, for example, I think the Vlandians would win. Certainly if it was Vlandia versus Battania, Battania definitely has a weaker cav. But those subtle differences are important to exploit. Like if you're playing Vlandia, you need to use your crossbowmen. They have excellent range, they have good damage. To me, they're probably the second best archer group, second only to the Battanians. Now, of course, Khazate is very different, right? Khazate with their horse archers is a very different kingdom altogether. But if you're using Vlandia like I am in this battle again, you need to utilize those crossbowmen. You need to. You may not win a ranged battle against Battania, but you need to at least try to win. You need to effectively have a nice battery exchange of artillery, so to speak, before the real battle starts. So a little bit more elaborate this time. You can see my 6th infantry there and the 7th cav are right in front of that whole division, right? That's the 5th archers and then my elite 8th corps. Or at least as elite as the custom battle gets, and that 7th cav, you can just see them. It's a bunch of sort of peasant cavalry, but they're holding shields. They're standing on big heavy horse, and that weight. I might try a little sweep and attack if these guys keep moving. When troops move, by the way, they're highly vulnerable, right? They're not spear braced. The guys aren't really prepared for you. Sometimes it's beneficial if they're moving to make an attack like this. Now it's got to be short. So you see almost immediately I pulled them out. Also I could use that 2nd cav division to attack their cav. See how their cav is like drawn to our shield wall over here? Right, so I can drag my 2nd cav in. And these guys are bottled up. We're going to be able to annihilate or at least hammer this cav division. So I just sent my cav division in, and what we're doing here is effectively concentrating our forces. I've just told the 3rd and the 2nd cav basically to attack and kill this cav division, right? They're kind of cut off. They're pinned between my archers and our cav. We should be able to do major damage to that cav division. Yeah, I see the number dropping 6, 8. When it was like 30, 18, 6. The number just cratered. They got shot to pieces and then killed by our enemy horse. Anytime you can isolate the enemy forces like that, take advantage, right? Each little battlefield win in a very difficult battle like this is critical. I've got a lot of my units, my cav units in shield wall, right? And that means those guys keep those shields up. Here's their other cav division. These guys have javelins. And you want those shields up in this situation because of so many enemy archers, especially when they're close to the enemy like we are. Alright, so we're still sort of skirmishing with their cav here. Our crossbowmen are going to work at range. My 4th and 1st, the 1st infantry division and the 4th archers are a little bit far away. When I get a spare moment, I'll probably try to move them up and get them a little closer. Meanwhile, what I'd like to do with my 2 cav divisions here is effectively take some of the fire from my archers, from my other units. And I can do that by kind of moving these cav divisions around. I've got one of them kind of attacking their other cav division over there, but I can kind of drive my cav units sort of around and behind their forces, distracting and drawing a lot of fire. So that 2nd cav division's coming in. It's a quick hit and run attack. Now I have them follow me. Right, you have them charge and then follow me. Because what you don't want is you don't want to just send them into charge and attack, because they'll have some success until the enemy all of a sudden there's 300 or 400, look, it's 371 extremely furious Battanians. Now your cavalry's lost your momentum, and the enemy is just going to mangle you with their Falksmen and their other infantry troops, right? And then they're going to get shot off their horse. You come in like this, you hit and run attack, you stab some guys, and then very quickly you pull through. You see me say, follow me. So I'll come in, I'll have them attack, charge F1, F3, and then F1, F2, follow me. We'll get out of dodge, right? Hit and run attacks. So I still have all 3 cav divisions, even though one of them is seriously wounded. Now we're going to start to surround the enemy here. A lot of my crossbowmen are probably out of ammunition. Once you get experienced at the game, you will actually be able to look. I can actually see them standing there like knuckleheads, and that's because they're out of bolts. Right? Crossbowmen that are out of bolts are infantry. They're no longer crossbowmen. Right? They can be put in a shield wall. They can be used as infantry squares. They have a lot of versatility, but obviously you'd rather they were shooting like the Battanian Fiend champions. So we're surrounding, right? The 1st, 6th, and 8th infantry are all slowly pulling in here, and eventually we will use cav behind this large Battanian force and try to stomp them from multiple angles. So I'm dragging one cav division. I brought that cav division up. They were a little early, so I pulled them back. Now we're bringing them in, and now it's an all attack. You see they've got infantry in front, they've got crossbowmen charging, and our cav division also charges. And this is going to be a tight battle. I can tell just kind of from the bars above the screen that it's not going to be a resounding victory. You see our cav pouring in from behind. I've got to do some work here. If these archers get set up, right, they're going to be able to put more volleys of arrows into us. So I've got to try to kill as many of these guys as I can that were falling back. Some of these guys are routing, but you don't want them to reform. So I'm dragging the cav behind me, right? In fact, there they go. They're not routing. These guys are reforming, right? They got some distance, they kited, and now they're going back to archery. There's a bloody melee scrum in the middle here between our elite units. It looks like our high-level infantry is running up against their Battanian Fiend champs and having a hard time. Look at that core of guys right there. They've got like 15 Fiend champs all packed up here. So we're gonna have to put some focused power on those guys, focused damage on those guys to take them out. These guys are like you know, they're Spartans. We're gonna have to concentrate forces. Actually, they still have their lord up too. We're gonna have to concentrate our forces here to take out these 20 or 30 elite troops. Most of the rest of their troops have already fled. So I'm dragging my cavalry through. Right? You see the cav did some damage there, and I'm going to keep on doing that. We're going to try to interrupt them. We're not going to let them try to shoot too much, and we're going to keep dragging our cavalry right through these Battanian Fiend champs. Still have a couple dozen guys up that are non-cav that are in here. That guy got annihilated. Killed 2 guys with 1 shot right there, and that should be it. I see a few guys probably running. That guy got beat down. That guy got speared. And that should be it. Not an easy battle, right? That's a very difficult battle. Harder than the other one, of course, because there was an additional maybe 60 enemies. But as you can see, still a victory. Anytime you're facing 20% more enemies than you and you can pull off a victory without a lot of terrain advantages, strictly tactics, you have to be happy about it. So that concludes this series on Vlandia. Hopefully this gives people who are just starting to play some ideas of what to do with Vlandia. Of course, you're probably not using 8 units, but I do have a whole series designed to help people basically graduate from using 3 or 4 units like you initially start, all the way up to using 6, 7, 8 units, and then using those units with confidence. So that's part of our intermediate tactics series. You can find the playlist on the channel. So let me know what you think of this series. Comment, like, subscribe. Thumbs down if you don't like it. That's fine too. I'm an old dog. I can handle criticism. And I'll catch you fellas next time.